So we were just asked to share some of our experiences and kind of our roles in this process. For me, I was, like many of you, got to participate in the Porch River graduate work with our students and community members. Also got to already take a trip to Akron. They're in year like 4 of implementation, so got to see where we will be in the future. And then I'm also part of the implementation team for our freshman School of Success. So all of those experiences have been great for me. But for me, I think the eye-opening experience was last year at high school graduation. I spent most of my time, really all of my time before last year at the middle school level. And you know, as a feeder family, you get to go to graduation, you sit up on stage and you see the high school principal shaking all their hands. And you know that you had a part in that process of getting that student to that stage. Whether you're at the elementary level, the pre-K level, or the middle school level, and you have a sense of accomplishment as you're sitting there. And then transitioning last year into the high school role, and I will tell you that's one of the greatest days of your career, of being able to be that person that shakes every single one of those students' hands them their diploma, and says congratulations. I looked forward to it all year. I look forward to it this year too, when I get to shake my own son's hand. But in that experience, it was awesome. There's just no other feeling about that. But I will also tell you that that was also disheartening to some extent as well, because as those kids come across and they look you in the eye and they have a smile on their face, but you know in your heart and they know in their mind that many of them have no idea what they're going to do with that diploma on that Monday after graduation. And that's the struggle. And I think that's why I'm so excited about this process, because this will help us get those kids to an opportunity to where they know what they will be doing that Monday after graduation. Dr. Daniel has been talking about it for years, and for me, that experience of living it right there and seeing that on their faces was kind of that eye-opening experience for me. So it takes all of us in the room to get kids to that graduation point. It's also going to take all of us in this room to get kids to that point to where they have these experiences and these opportunities, so that when they get to graduation, they're already going to have a plan for what they're going to do that Monday after. So as we go through this process throughout this year, I would just encourage you to kind of think about your role in that process for getting our students to that point. So, I don't know, David, are you up?
So I was asked, in the end of August, we went down to Indianapolis, and there was the pre-K to 8, where we were talking with schools that were just starting this process. So it was pretty cool that Fort Wayne was so much farther ahead of all these other schools that were there, because there were some schools there that were, we're a large school district, but there were schools there that they were sitting down struggling with the logistics of it, and they had one high school, one middle school, and one elementary school. And then we would step back, and Fort Wayne had 2 huge tables there. We would step back and say, okay, this is how many buildings that we're trying to get all this into. And that's what I took away from there, is that oftentimes we would break off, and I would have to apologize to Sheila and Kara, because I was always the one that said, what does that mean with logistics? Because I am tasked with the building principal with logistics. So of all the, like for example, almost all of Let's Talk I get, it's all about the safety of the students in my building, right? Almost all of them. It's not about, hey, I'm real concerned about the curriculum. Hey, I'm concerned that you're not really meeting the standards, the state standards. All of it has to do with the safety of their children in my building. And so then I kind of used the phrase, the pie in the sky, this is great philosophy. It sounds really good on paper, but logistically, what does that mean for a middle school principal in an urban setting? Tell me what that means for my kids. And so that's the conversation that we had with that. And then it kind of just opened my eyes to that, like Zach's saying, I need to just have a shift in philosophy, a shift in why we tell kids what we're doing. So for example, my kids are going to Jim Kelly this week. So Shawnee's going to look at the Jim Kelly Center this week. And so we were real intentional with telling them why they're going to Jim Kelly this week. You're going to Jim Kelly because instead of just being this trip that you're going here, this is connected to everything else that we're trying to do right now. And so we're trying to do little things like that, middle school, with the connector piece again, with the posters, and I've kind of tasked my staff at Shawnee with making sure that we're using that term connectors when we talk about some of these things. But I should be talking to the high school principal that my kids are going to go to. I should be talking to my feeder elementaries about what's happening with them, because we should all be one family, from pre-K all the way to 12. And I tell my staff, if you can't see even the worst kid in your class walking across the stage, either at Northrop or Southside, get a diploma, then we're doing something wrong. So how do we get that? How do we get there as a staff? So then I even brought up the fact that this can't be just a principal thing, right? This has to be a teacher thing, it has to be a district thing, from the top, from Dr. Denny all the way down. It has to be, everybody has this vision, and everybody's moving forward with that. So that's what I took away from that as a middle school principal. Ashley, were you gonna add anything? Okay.
So I'm talking about point 2, which is our goal for students to see more validity and clarity. And I kind of had the opposite experience of Zach. I went from high school to middle school. And so I knew a lot more about what we were doing with Schools of Success at the high school because I'd been in the planning of that. And then I went to middle school. We went to all the Portrait of a Graduate meetings last year. And it did seem at first very focused on the Schools of Success and how that was going to go through. So this was a very informative conference on how we can support Schools of Success in the middle school and elementary schools. And I think probably the part that was the biggest eye-opener for me is, or not eye-opener, but really made me feel good about things, is that this is not asking us to change what we do. It's asking us to be more intentional and to be very clear with our students on how things connect. So one trip that my students take, our 6th graders, we read Seed Folks, and then we go to the Parkview Learning Kitchen, which is a 5-minute walk from our school, and they get to go in there and learn how to grow plants and make little meals out of what they grow in the garden. Well, when we do that, we can talk about all of the jobs and the employment opportunities that they have if that's something that they enjoy. We have a rain garden in front of our school that I have termed affectionately our weed garden because it is very overgrown. And the city agrees, and they are coming out and they are redoing that this year. And they are going to teach a group of our students how to take care of that and how to make sure that that garden stays in place and looks really good for our school. That's a job skill. That's something that the city is asking us to help with. We can connect that to the learning experiences that our students are having in their classes with Seed Folks and how they're growing things and why those plants are important to the agricultural needs of our school. So it's not doing something different, it's really just expanding what we are doing and making it more intentional and giving our students the opportunity to see the employment opportunities that they have when they are able to go for employment.
So as an elementary principal, this has been a journey because when we sit in leadership, I'm just speaking of myself, and they say graduation, I sometimes start to tune out because that seems so far away, but really it starts with the elementary. We have the kids the longest. They go to preschool, we have them for 7 years. And so I've had all sorts of emotions on this, right? Because the first we start with all the community members with Portrait of a Graduate work, and I take a 5th grader. And I'm thinking, is that 5th grader going to contribute? I have this kid who his parent is with me, and are they gonna understand? And they shocked, yes, they have so many ideas. They want these experiences. So I'm like, okay. So then we do it again, and I take a different student, and she has all these ideas that they want to learn about in jobs. So it's like, okay, I see the kid buy in, but still it's graduation. Then we go to Indianapolis, and we hear from other schools, and then Sarah and I kind of start geeking out on how amazing and exciting this work can be and what we need to do for kids, because we can't wait until they get to the secondary to start talking about careers that are available to them. Is a 1st grader going to know what they want to do? Absolutely not, but we need to expose them. And it's not just one more thing for our teachers to do. Yes, probably every kindergartner, preschooler, or 1st grader goes to the zoo. But how easy is it for us to start talking about the jobs that are at the zoo? We can read stories about it. We can talk about the zoologist, a biologist, a botanist, all of these things that are just easy and the best practice for us to do for our students. Zach, we were doing our planning, and he said something last week is, when kids are graduating and we're sitting up there, we're watching them, we're trying to see which one we went to, Weiser Park or Whitney Young. Some of those kids don't have a plan the next day, and then that's all I've thought about for a week. I can't, as an elementary principal, allow that to be happening. I have to help my kids who are gonna come on then to middle school and to high school. What's next? What's next for you? So we have to, that's why I'm so excited about this work, is it's just not one more thing. It's not this too shall pass. Sometimes we say that. It's what we need to do for our kids, and it's such exciting stuff.
Yeah, I don't have lots to add, but the experience that we had in Indianapolis, I have been involved in this Portrait of a Graduate work and thought it was really cool. Yep, I do think our high schools and middle schools need to be more responsive to what our community needs. but I didn't really fully engage in what my role could be in that. And when we spent some time in Indianapolis working on this, like, she's not kidding, we completely geeked out. And we had some fabulous teachers with us, a teacher from Adams that shared a lot of cool things. And my biggest takeaway, and what I hope you all hear, is this is not just some thing we're going to do. We already do lots of this. My elementary peeps, we have IRAs, we have tech sets, we have all kinds of things that can play right into this. We have science standards, social studies standards. All we have to do is just be a little more thoughtful about making sure we expose our kids. Whether that is, we're going to agree on some guaranteed experiences, whatever that might look like. But again, just like Melissa said, it can be as complex as some big STEAM projects, and it can be as easy as, let's take a look at our school and make sure that we're varying the different field trips that we take. Are our kids going and seeing manufacturing kinds of things? Are they seeing health and related services kinds of things? You know, you can't have 3 grade levels all go to the zoo. So how do we shake that up? Our real goal, and I see as my task, is helping my kids have enough experiences and to have explored lots of different things so that when they start getting to middle school and high school, they're making educated decisions about what kind of career path they want. You can't ask a kiddo who's going into freshman year what they're gonna do. We had a lady, Flora Jones, talk to us, and she said, kids only know who is in front of them. So she said, I had a teacher in front of me my whole life. I guess I'll be a teacher. Got into it, went to school, had her first classroom, hated it. They only know what's in front of them. Our kids at elementary have to know there is more in life than to be a police officer, a teacher, or a doctor. There's a bazillion careers out there. So this is super exciting, energizing work, and all we have to do is start thinking about what we already do and how could we highlight life potential opportunities for kids while we do it. So I have the clicker. I hope I click it right. I'm moving us to the table discussion you're going to have. So this is going to be a lot of fun, I hope, because this is where we started in Indianapolis. What are some things that we already do? And that was the big sounding board for us. Like, there are so many things we already do that with little tweaks we could make them work better with our whole college and career focus. So you're going to discuss that. What are some things that we have already done well? What are some things that are lagging? We talked about gaps and opportunities. So we called these gaps, but again, what are some things that might be lagging behind in what we do in order for kids to have a better college and career focus? And what are the 2 most important next steps for your particular building? There is a QR code because I believe this is on a Padlet, am I right, Ben? Okay, and we're gonna collect all these ideas. But again, what are we already doing well? And you are in role likes right now. You're gonna talk at elementary, middle, and high. And then I believe we will break out and you're going to share with your feeder school some of the things that were discussed at your table.